Hey guys, it's Ripchip. Just today we're gonna do a showcase of a no reset run of Rise of the ROTT Ludicrous edition with some commentary while we do it. This is the newest remastered release of Rise of the ROTT, and in this run we're going to be playing Dark War, which is the original 4-episode campaign that the game came out with. We're going to be doing with Lorelei because she's the fastest character in the game. And we're playing it on easy because of a number of reasons, but obviously the big one is that it's the fastest difficulty. So let's jump right into it because we're going to have a lot to explain right off the bat. The thing that makes easy difficulty so much better for speedrunning, because one, Rise of the ROTT is just a hard video game no matter what difficulty you're playing it on. There's a lot of things that can kill you in this game, and do it very quickly. Easy difficulty helps mitigate some of the difficulty and makes it a little bit more viable for speedrunning, simply because enemy health is lower, boss health is lower, and when you get the MP40, which we'll get on this map, you can use that to stun lock pretty much any normal enemy. And we also have power-ups, and we're going to see that a lot. This is Mercury mode, which allows us to fly. And that's very helpful, especially on this map, because it lets us fly over obstacles and enemies and move through the map a little bit quicker. We also have got our MP40 right here, and we also picked up bulletproof armor, which is something you're going to see a lot in this. There's a lot of different items and power-ups in Rise of the ROTT, and made a wrong turn there. You're going to have to forgive me on that one. There's a lot of items and power-ups in Rise of the ROTT. Bulletproof armor is very useful because it stops you from taking damage or being slowed down by hit scan attacks, which pretty much every triad enemy does hit scan damage, so being able to mitigate that is great. There's another type of armor we'll see later on called asbestos armor, which is also very useful because that stuff will stop you from taking damage from explosions and fire, which there's going to be a lot of that to avoid in this game, so any chance we can avoid it is great. So one other thing I've yet to talk about is enemy spawns in this game, and what's one of the core components of learning this run and getting better at it is knowing how the enemy spawns work. So there's set areas where enemies will spawn at any given time on a map, and there are certain spawns where what enemy spawns in that area is random. There are some ones that are always going to be the same enemy no matter what, and knowing which ones are like that and pose a threat are really important, because you want to take out the ones you know are going to be a problem. And if you don't know which one it's going to be, it's just a matter of adapting on the fly on how to deal with them. And in this particular episode, or throughout the game really, one of the most annoying enemies you have to deal with is the triad. On the triad side is the Over Patrol, which are these enemies in black. And the reason they're such a problem is because they throw nets at you. And if you get netted, you have to wiggle out. And while you're wiggling out, you can't move at all, and enemies can still do damage to you. So not only does that slow you down, but it also puts you at a risk of dying. The enemies with the machine guns are the high guards. Those are the other ones that you really gotta watch out for on episode 1 in particular. There's other enemies that are going to be even bigger threats, and we'll get into that when the time comes. But for now, like I said, the main thing with this is just knowing where enemies can spawn and knowing how to deal with whichever ones are at any given point. This is dog mode, by the way. This is one of the other power-ups, and it's one that's very useful. Other than having the advantage of being a dog and not being able to take any damage from anything, dogs have the ability to bite, which is a good attack on its own, but it also makes you jump a little bit. And on top of that, you can also jump a little bit when you use the use key to open doors. And you can sometimes stack the two of those together to do a little bit of a double jump, which I call puppy jumping. And that can be useful to get over enemies, cruise over them, and other obstacles. It's a pretty useful thing, like we're going to do it right there. And this saves us from having to use a jump pad, which is a little bit faster. But dog mode's super useful for that reason in particular, along with just not taking any damage. So we talked a lot about mechanics. Let's do a little bit of a minor skip here. Alright, cool, we got it. That just saves us from having to go hit a switch. It's a few seconds faster. than the intended way. And we're going to quick save here, which, if you don't know anything about Rise of the Triad and how elevators work, there is a 1 in 10 chance that when you get into an elevator, it's going to start playing elevator music, and that's going to make the elevator transition a few seconds slower. So we quick save there, because if we get elevator music, we're going to end up quick loading and trying again to reduce our chances of losing time. And with this particular release of the game, quick saving and loading is super fast, so the time loss mitigation is even better than it used to be on DOS. I just got stomped on the head. That should bring up another point about something that's a mechanic in this game. So whether it's for enemies or yourself, if you stand on top of an enemy's head or if one stands on your head, you take damage. So being on top of an enemy's head does damage to them. And that is typically not something you have to worry about too much, but it is something you can exploit to your advantage sometimes. Since episode 1 is kind of the episode to explain mechanics, one other thing I should mention is how the weapons work in this game. So, there's 2 types of weapons. There's bullet weapons and explosive weapons. The bullet weapons, which the main one we're going to be using for pretty much the entire game, is the MP40. Bullet weapons have infinite ammo. And explosive weapons, you can only hold one at a time, and they have a set amount of ammo. So it's almost arcade-like in a way. So this is one of those maps where dealing with enemies appropriately is very important. Alright, we have some good enemy spawns right there. And in that little area I shot the rocket, there's always going to be a high guard. Sometimes you can get really bad enemy spawns here, and a lot of high guards can chip away at your health, and that can be pretty risky. So we get that as quick as we can. Being able to adapt on the fly and know how to approach this can be a difficult thing, especially on a map like this. Just gonna shoot that to cook the porridge. Using explosives or heat of some sort near the healing item, the priest porridge, will give you additional health because it's hot priest porridge. And that's the firewall. This is one of like the only 2 times you're gonna see it in the run, and it's very useful here because you pick it up while picking up the armor. Oh, there's our elevator music, and it clears through enemies very quickly. It's just a shame that we don't have a ton of places to use it viably in the run. Oh, I missed the touch plate. Alright. Some touch plates you have to hit for hidden walls can be difficult to see. So it comes down to just knowing where they are on the map. Alrighty. And we're about to move on to the first boss fight of the game, which is Darien. So Darien's an interesting fellow. He is hiding in here. Take care of that for safety. We have to shoot these 4 switches that he's hitting for traps. If we do this in the correct way, he'll come out. Shoot those. We're just gonna unload rockets onto him. There we go. Easy fight. But it is absolutely pivotal that we constantly shoot rockets at him as soon as he gets out, so that we can quick kill him. So this is episode 2. Episode 2 introduces 2 new enemies to the equation. One of them is the Strike Patrol, and they are total pushovers. The other one is the Triad Enforcer, and those are arguably the most dangerous enemy in the game. And they can be thrown into the random enemy pool for certain spawns. Triad Enforcers are dangerous because not only do they have a lot of health, and that can cause some roadblocks, but their 2 attacks are a rapid-firing hit-scan attack and throwing grenades. And the hit-scan attack is whatever, but the grenades can be absolutely devastating. So if you don't see it coming, and it just hits you out of nowhere, you can lose a lot of health if you're not careful. So that's something we're going to have to keep in mind for the majority of the run. We're going to pick up this safety knife right here. So the over-patrol throws nets at you, and if you get caught in that, you have to wiggle out. The knife allows you to break free from it. In the original version of the game... Oh shoot, this is Mushrooms mode. Don't want you to see that because it's not helpful. But, it is funny. But anyways, going back down to what I was talking about. So, the knife, when you pick it up, it'll help you break free the nets that the Overpatrol throw at you. And in the original game, you would pick up one knife and you'd be good for the rest of the game. In the remaster, for some reason, they changed it, and you lose your knife every map. So that's kind of unfortunate, and it adds a little bit more caution you have to take towards the Overpatrol, but it is what it is. Also, we're doing this map in a very unique way because we're supposed to collect all these keys and then take elevators back to the main room, but it is faster just to backtrack in all of them the way you came in. So run across all these. And these moving platforms are kind of annoying because you can get stuck on them sometimes. Alrighty. Alright, so we're going on to the room, which is one of the most unique levels in the game. The room has a gimmick where the whole level is based around dodging traps and stuff like that. And there's no enemies on here. I just did a rocket jump there, by the way. Haven't really had a chance to really explain that, but rocket jumps are a pretty core part of the game. They are extremely iffy in the base game and are even more iffy in this version of the game. But it's just they have some weird timing and like angling you have to do them correctly. But the first rocket jump we did there just lets us skip getting one of the keys. We do have to get the other two though. We use Mercury mode to make this part easier. Dodge the rest of the traps on the way out. It's a short level, but casually this level's pretty cool. There's also a really neat little Easter egg in that level. And this is spiraling in. This is a level where if you get really unlucky at the beginning of the level, you can die very quickly. So far it looks like we're doing okay though. If you get the wrong enemies or if you get a Triad Enforcer that throws a grenade at you and you can't avoid it, this level can go south very fast. We're going to do a rocket jump here, which is effectively going to send us straight to the end of the level. It's a pretty big skip right there. And now we're on to Rocky Plateau. So, Rocky Plateau, in my humble opinion, is the absolute worst map in this game. It is way too big for its own good. And when I was originally routing this way back in the day, most maps I could come up with a rough draft route for about, playing it for like 30 minutes. This map took me about 2 hours because everything is so big and there's so many areas that look the exact same. So the way this one is, you basically just have to hit a series of switches to gain access to the main area, which gets you to the key to the exit. But there's a lot of moving around, a lot of open space, and it's just frustrating. It's a mess. It's very easy to get lost in this level. And what's worse is that most of what you need in this level is only in, like, one corner of the map. So we've done all we needed to. Now we're gonna go to this area. This area is one where you kind of also want to have good enemy RNG. That's not a good start, having a Triad Enforcer right there. There's always going to be an Overpatrol there, so take care of them. Oh, this is terrible. Alright, so I'm going to try a risky strat here. Ideally, you want to have enough rockets so that you can kill him and get past him without trouble, but a backup strat you can do if you don't have enough rockets is to just constantly shoot him with the MP40 so he stun locks. But if you let go of that in just the wrong time, he can throw a grenade at you, so you gotta be careful. It's four-way chamber. Four-way chamber is a pretty cool level. It's another one where you really gotta pay attention to enemies. There's some rooms where if you just have bad enemy spawns, you have to be very careful not to die. And if you get a lot of Triad Enforcers in certain parts of this map, it can be bad news for everybody. Like, there's a chance you can get Triad Enforcers in that section. Alright, we're gonna make this level a little bit easier by picking up that asbestos armor. Shoutouts to TBCR because he pointed out that that was there. We're gonna take a shortcut here that is gonna let us skip a good chunk of the level. And I'm glad this shortcut exists because the chunk of the level that we do normally is absolutely headache-inducing, because there are a lot of enemies you have to deal with, and traps you have to dodge. It's a wonderful skip, but... And a lot of the run over the years, especially when people like TVCR came around, came down to just finding newer ways to mitigate RNG in some of the really annoying sections of the maps. So, you know, it's been great how much progress this game has made over the years, especially compared to when I first started routing it. Alright. Gotta be careful, this is a very dangerous hallway. Those fireballs can do a lot of damage to you. Luckily I have his, you know... Well, I don't have his business anymore. I have bulletproof armor, but you can take a lot of damage if you're not careful. So now we're going on to the second boss level. The second boss level is pretty neat because it's an actual, like, full-blown level on top of being a boss level. Another level where if you get bad enemy spawns, things can get really dicey. Luckily, these have been pretty good so far. But I have pretty consistent strats for dealing with most enemy spawns that I've gotten in the past. Alright, so here we're going to do a little bit of a detour. And this seems like it's kind of out of the way, but it is absolutely worth it for this level. We're going to go over to this little hidden area, and there is a random power-up. The way this works is that you pick it and you can get one of any of the power-ups or power-downs in the game. We want to get God mode here because it's going to let us get through the level very quickly. And while this seems like it's out of the way and there's a little bit of luck attached to it, doing this is absolutely essential because doing this without God mode will make this level take forever because there's so many enemies. But God mode in particular is a very, very useful power-up. Not only do you take no damage during it, but you have these balls of fire that pretty much, well, not pretty much, they will insta-kill enemies instantly. Any of them. Except for one of them, but we'll get into that when the time comes. But the important element about that is that I said it kills every enemy instantly, and I meant it. That includes the boss fight in this room. So basically we have it routed so that the whole strat is to get through the whole level and have it God mode by the time we get to the end of it so that we can insta-kill the boss. Alright, time to go on to Episode 3. Episode 3 introduces robot enemies, which are a little bit different because, unlike human enemies, these ones cannot take damage from anything except for explosives. Be a little careful here because these rocket jumps are being a little bit iffy today. Come on. There we go. We're doing that rocket jumps just to save a little bit of time. But robot enemies can do a lot of damage, and they can only take damage from explosives, so your bullet weapons do absolutely nothing to them. And so that's something you have to keep in mind whenever you encounter them throughout this episode as well as the rest of the game. I'm going to do a little bit of shortcutting here. Go. Got a robot coming up here. They don't look threatening, but they can be a big pain. This shortcut saves a decent chunk of time going through the level the intended way. If you know you're going to go into a room where there's going to be a robot, it's pretty much like essential that you actually destroy said robot because you don't want them to shoot rockets at you. That's just a thing they like to do. And we're gonna backtrack through the longest hallway in the game. I don't know why this has to be this long, but it is. Alright, we're gonna do a little bit of a boost here to get over that trap. That's just gonna save a few seconds instead of waiting on it. The Episode 3 can be a little bit tough. Other than dealing with some of these enemies, there's some really difficult, like, levels in general on Episode 3. Lots of things that can end your run if you're not careful. lots of traps, lots of dangerous enemies. So getting familiar with these maps is super important. This map in particular isn't too hard, however, it's about to become very easy as long as this room goes okay. There's a lot of enemies in here, and there's God mode coincidentally right there. So now the rest of the level's gonna be a cakewalk. One other small element of God mode I didn't mention is that it is a really weird condition where whenever you're in God mode, you never get elevator music. So that's another hidden benefit to that. Among the other benefits that are already there. You can also use the God Ball here to go right through that table. If you do that correctly, you'll kill all the enemies, get the key, and then pass right through the other side. The God Ball also is an explosive attack, so if you wanted to do it, and we might have to do this later in the run, you can actually use those to create explosive rocket jumps. They're a little bit iffy and weird, but you can do them. And we might have to later on. Hopefully not, but... So this is dead in 5 seconds. It's been more than 5 seconds, and we're still kicking, so we're doing good. Oh, gotta be careful there. So that's the rocket attack that you don't want to get hit by. Unfortunately, I did, but that's fine. Gotta get through here. Come on. I got stuck there for a second. That's cute. Alrighty, so we gotta get that gold key. And as I said earlier, we want to kill pretty much every one of those robots that we see. Alright, so my health is really low, so I'm gonna be playing very safe. I'm actually surprised I survived that. Alright, now it's just a stretch to the end. Lots of robots in here. We're gonna just ignore all of them, though. Alright, so this is Clear and Present Danger. Clear and Present Danger is a pretty cool map. There's been a lot of really cool routing and skips found for this map over the time that it's been run. And also a lot of risky strats you can do in here. I'm not going to really go for any of them because it's not worth it in a no reset setting. There's a key behind here. Hopefully we can get it without any issues. Okay, I did go for one risky strat there, which is just backing out before the firewall closes in. Now, that part was all difficult and stuff, and, you know, we had to worry about dying. In this room, coincidentally, and this is another thing I didn't know for the longest time, there's a dog mode power up here, so now we don't have to worry about dying for the rest of the map. Or at least up until the very end if we're not careful. Now, unlike God mode, you can actually get elevator music with dog mode, like that. So we definitely want to make sure we're quick saving before then. Because typically you're on a strict timer with dog mode, and you don't want to lose dog mode before you get it used where you need it to. And here we're going to use it to do a pretty interesting little skip. The old method of this used a rocket jump, but dog mode jumping is way easier. We're just getting past all those pillars to get that key. And that saves a good amount of time because you have to hit a bunch of touch plates to move the pillars to get to the key. There's a couple of key things in areas that are blocked by that kind of obstacle, but most of them can be skipped. Also, you saw there I was trying to attack the enemy in that doorway. There is a weird little bug that can happen sometimes with doors, where doorways just are these weird areas that sometimes the game just doesn't work in. And in the case of the doors, if dog mode, if you attack an enemy in the doorway, there's a chance they won't take damage. And if you're not careful and you're standing in a doorway while it's closing, you can actually get stuck inside of a door. Oh my god, that's scary. Hold up. I gotta be careful here. Oh, that's not being careful. Yeah, this is what I was talking about when it comes to dealing with enemies. I wasn't ready to get attacked by those grenades, and this is creating a bit of a difficult situation. Gotta be very careful here. Come on. I don't think I've ever had this kind of thing happen, so this is neat. But I'm basically sitting on 1 health, so I'm going to play this section very lame and very carefully. I've got to be so careful right now, because I have, like, 1 health. Alright, that's okay. The nice thing is, though, like, once you die, like, you know what's gonna happen, so, like, that helps. Alright, cool. Now we're gonna be okay. So I save here. Alright, so here you can ideally do the level with either dog mode or god mode. I like doing this level with dog mode because I find it's easier, but you can definitely do it with god mode as well. Alright, so we make our way over here. And we want to get god mode or dog mode for this, mainly because it allows us to skip a little maze by hopping over those spinning blades. Another minor time save there. Alrighty. I can't believe I got to the point where my health got this low. This is a first for me. But it's okay, you know, it's all part of the process. Rather than try it's a game where you live and learn. Alrighty. Alright, so this is another room where things, if RNG is not in your favor, this can go pretty badly. And it all has to do with the spinning blades. And I got a good pattern, so that's good. Alright, moving wall sucks. This first part of the level is absolutely atrocious because it's very easy to die. But we got somewhat lucky here because we didn't get any triad enforcers in that area. But if we get one here, it's going to be bad news. Okay, great. This is good luck. This is what I needed after what happened last level. This level's another level in Episode 3 that is very hard if you do not know what to expect. And even if you do know what to expect, there's so many things that can go wrong, but it's just a matter of knowing where to save, where to play safe, and what to do. That'll help you get through the level easier over time. I guess you could say that about all speedrunning, but anyways, there's bulletproof armor, so half of this threats of this level just got easier to deal with. But not these ones. Because bulletproof armor can stop the hit scan attacks, but it will not stop the rockets the robots shoot at you. Alright, so this next section's a bunch of hitting touch plates to move hidden walls. You could rocket jump over some of these, but it would realistically not be worth it because you'd lose so much health. Alright. This is a level where if you get a lot of triad enforcers, things can get dicey very quickly. I'm actually going to be a little safe here. So you can actually rocket jump over this to get to the key. I'm not doing that because my health was pretty low. And last thing I want to do is put myself in a position where the end level is super hard. Because now we're going on to the hardest boss fight in the game, Enemy. And I say that because casually this boss is an absolute nightmare. He's still kind of a pain in the ass when you do it casually, or when you do it in a speedrun setting, but we have come up with some strats that make this fight a little bit more consistent. And it all depends on how this section in particular goes. So we're grabbing the firebomb, which is the weapon that does the most damage. We're going to unload that on him and come back here to grab the rocket launcher. Now if I set this up correctly, enemy's going to run in a straight line, that's great. He's going around, great, that's not good. Where'd he go? Alright, so enemy's dangerous. Enemy moves fast, has a lot of attacks that can absolutely wipe away your health bar, and has a lot of health too, and he's hard to hit because of his size and his speed. But after a certain point, his attacks will change and he'll start doing that gigantic wall of fire attack. You do not want to get hit by that. But his main attack that he does is shooting homing rockets, and if he fires them at you, good luck dodging them. But that fight wasn't too bad, all things considered. This was a rough episode 3, but we managed. And now we're going on to episode 4. Episode 4 introduces another new enemy type, which is the monks. There's Death Monks and Fire Monks. The Death Monks will take away your health when they get close to you, doing damage over time. Fire Monks will shoot fireballs at you, and those do a lot of damage. But this level is pretty easy because we're going to be effectively just going through it with God mode and not having to worry about damage, stuff like that. And now we're on to Fire and Brimstone. This level is a level that you're on a pretty tight timer for, mainly because you're using dog mode for a couple different things to not only solve an intended puzzle, but like to get a key, I guess you could say. There's tons of dog mode power-ups for that reason alone, but it also just makes getting through a chunk of the level a lot easier. Which, with this game, you want that. You want as much convenience and consistency as you can get. Alrighty, so we're just going to be running through this section. These pillars of fire can be annoying to get through. If you're lucky, you can get a clean line through them and not get stuck on the magma pillars. But getting that line is pretty tough. This is exactly what I was talking about earlier, so we're going to backtrack a little bit and use the head stomp damage to kill that monk, instead of trying to deal with the buggy door physics. Alright, ideally you want to have dog mode up to this point, which is good. Alright, so this next part of the level has another skip. We're going to do rocket jumping over these pillars. Like, okay. Wow, these are interesting. I've never had the rocket jump just not work like this. That's great. But yeah, we're going to do the rocket jump just to skip and get that key right away. That's going to let us access the next part of the level. I do want to emphasize also, by the way, that rocket jumps are not just finicky in this version of the game, they're finicky in the base game too, like the DOS version. But there's a weird change that happened with the remaster where, like, I guess the aiming pitch is lower than what the original game has, so that it messes up the physics of rocket jumping a little bit. Even more so than they already are. But we're doing a rocket jump here just to clear straight to the exit. Otherwise, we have to hit a bunch of touch plates. We only hit one of them covering the exit door. That lets us skip that entire room. Alright, so this is a level that is very claustrophobic and has a lot of fire monks. It's very dangerous, so you gotta be careful. Luckily, there's an asbestos armor right at the beginning, and we're going to basically be utilizing that for the entire map. Ooh, I gotta be careful. I'm taking a lot of trap damage from the traps. Luckily, there's not a whole lot of threat of hit scan enemies in this map, and there's a good health refill coming up right here. Okay. So we're just gonna get through this room, still wearing the armor, take it straight to the exit. Alright, Diamonds and Rust. This is another map that involves the use of the random power-up to, you know, use to our benefit. Ideally, we want God mode or dog mode, and again, this is a map where having dog mode is, in my opinion, a lot more beneficial. You can still do it with God mode, though. But dog mode makes getting around this first part of the map really a lot easier. Because you can just hop over enemies, and you can also just hop over these. We're running at a bunch of keys so that we can get to the next part of the level. Which is this one right here. We're going to hop over him. Run through these dangerous pillars of fire. And we want to have dog mode, not only for the ease of this, but there's also a small little time save we're going to do here, which involves us just simply jumping over this pillar, to hit the switch that lets us get to the exit. And again, this is another one you can do with God mode as well, but it's a little bit iffier. I haven't gotten a chance to show off the God Ball jump, but I'm kind of glad because I hate doing it. I can do it, it's just very iffy. So next is this level right here. For the longest time, this level's gone over a lot of changes over the past couple of years. For one, I didn't know there was a hidden power up here. We're going to get God mode with that. This is going to simplify this level tremendously. Doing this without God mode is possible, and it's what we did for the longest time, but it is a lot slower. And there's a certain point where you will hit where you're going to deal with a lot of death monks and not have enough ammo to deal with all of them without relying on the machine gun, which is a lot slower. God mode simplifies this and makes it easier to deal with all of these enemies. Not much to say here, it's really just a lot of dodging stuff. Okay, we're gonna do that quickly. If we do that quick enough, we can run around the boulder without having to hit the touch plate to stop it or avoid it. And we're gonna get dog mode for the rest of the map. So we basically can spend the entire map without having to worry about dying, which is nice. Because that definitely didn't used to be the case back in the day. Alrighty, get to the exit. Circles of Fire is a pretty neat one. There is a very difficult trick we have to do about halfway through the map. It's a short map, but we're gonna grab the Dark Staff and just get a refill on that. The Dark Staff is a really powerful weapon too, by the way. It will basically insta-jib not only the enemy in front of you, but the enemies behind you, or behind them as well. It basically is almost like kind of similar how, you know, you have those weapons that shoot through multiple enemies. That's basically what this does, and it does it in very gratifying amounts. Alright, so we want to run through that pillar of moving fire so that we can get his Besdis armor. And while we don't technically have to do that, it makes this level so much more manageable, because there's a lot of stuff to avoid otherwise. So we're going to be hitting these switches to gain access to the exit. As you can see, there's a lot of fireballs being thrown at me, and a gigantic wall of green text right there. It actually makes navigating this section quite troublesome sometimes, because sometimes I just can't see where I'm going. Alright, Lair of El Oscuro. This is going into the end game. So Lair of El Oscuro is interesting because this final boss has like 3 missions attached to him, which is this one right here first. Got this fake elevator right here, which is a full-blown level, similar to how Christ was in episode 2. But this one's a little bit more complex. And we don't have God mode power up for this one. We're doing a lot of back and forth in this level, though. Oh shoot, hold on, what am I doing? I went the wrong way for a second. Now we're going to go to the other side, which we couldn't really go to earlier. We're going into a dangerous area right here. This is probably the one section of the level that has the chance to go badly, but if you know where everything is, it's not too bad. I just gotta be a little bit careful on the way out. Luckily, I know... Oh wait, hold on, no, that's not it. I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure I know there's some healing items right there. There we go, yeah. I haven't had to do that in a long time. But luckily I remembered that they were there. Alrighty. Way to the exit. Well, not the exit, this is just the next part of the level. Because next we've got a very interesting sort of boss fight coming up, which is with El Oscuro, the main villain of the game. This isn't really a fight as much as it is a survival test. Once we get here, El Oscuro is going to start barraging us with attacks. And this boss is deceptive if you do not know how he works, because it's not really explained what you're supposed to do. You'd think he's a boss, just shoot him till he dies. However, that's not actually what happens here. El Oscuro is going to be doing a series of attacks, and every time he does an attack, he loses energy. We want to get his energy low so that he opens up access to the exit. If we attack him at any time, he gains energy back, so it prolongs the fight. So it's just a matter of draining him out as quick as you can. We do a little bit of like moving in and out just to try and get him to do his attacks a little bit faster. There's one attack he can do that is troublesome, where he flies at you and looks like he's screaming. If he does that, it's the slowest attack to deal with. We realistically just want him to be doing those fireball attacks. And he's going to do that until about 3 minutes. Hopefully, as long as everything went well. Shouldn't be too much longer. There we go. Yep, he's going to turn into a caterpillar and we're going to have to chase him. Alright, so this canyon chase literally is just a run from point A to point B level, but we absolutely have to get this firewall. This is the other part of the game where we need the firewall. Oh wow, I've never been hit by a fireball like that. A rogue fireball. So yeah, this level is just a matter of getting through it as quick as possible. It's as the name implies, a canyon chase, so... But the main important thing from this level is that we pick up a firewall, because we're going to use it to make the next level very easy compared to what it used to be like. Alright, there we go. Now we're in the darkness. This is the final level of the game. And there's an interesting mechanic with this level. So normally you'd think you just kill the final boss and you get out of here and all is good to go. That's not the case. You see these little egg things with this weird El Oscuro head in them. You have to destroy all of these larvae. And the reason why you have to do that is because if you don't, you do not get the true ending to the game. And if you do not get the true ending of the game, it's just going to make you do this level over. So, while there's some here that are very, easy to find, there's a couple more that require a little bit more out-of-the-box thinking to get to. But you absolutely have to kill all of these in order to get the best ending. We're going to grab this El Oscuro key because we cannot get the best ending without picking that up. Alright, so we're going to pick up our firewall again, make our way over here. Fly mode. Reveal hidden area. Oh shoot, I don't want the drunkness. This is a useless weapon. Alright, this is the arena where we fight El Oscuro, but we're not going to do that just yet. We actually have to activate that touch wall. And here is a bunch of those larvae. And they are all about to get cooked. Alright, so it's hard to get a good setup to kill all of them, but we want to just kill most of them because the rest we're just going to kill with the Excalibat, which is a really awesome weapon. Alright, that was weird. So the other thing about this section, the larvae themselves have very weird hitboxes. So sometimes attacks will just go right through them, which is incredibly infuriating when that happens. Alright. Now we actually have to fight and kill the final boss, El Oscuro, who has a weird mechanic where you can only take damage if he's over these little pits of fire. So we're going to do a ton of damage with the Excalibat, because El Oscuro hates baseball. Now, in theory, it is totally possible to kill him in one hit with one swing of the bat with all the fireballs, but it is very, very iffy and kind of luck dependent. This was a pretty rough run, but mainly a lot of that came from the weird things that happened at episode 3, but we still managed to come out on top. this game is super cool, and again, just dealing with those different, you know, random elements and like how the game can challenge you consistently is what makes it such a fun run to me. So we just got to make sure that we got the best ending, which realistically we should. And we're good to go. So I hope you enjoyed that little demonstration there. And yeah, Rise of the Triad's a pretty cool game. I am currently working to try and get the world record, as I have not had world record in Rise of the Triad since I stopped playing it like a couple years ago. Yeah. But it's a pretty cool run, and like even in the areas where I was, you know, dealing with some newer challenges, I've seen a lot that this game has to offer, and I know a lot of the key areas where to pay attention and be careful with. So, you know, it's a matter of adaptation and understanding the game. But I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will hopefully catch you guys soon, and enjoy the rest of the runs you see on the channel.